Friday, so that means it's our Roots to Results coaching day. And I'm really excited to be here with y'all today. Um, just today, we're talking about gratitude, and we have a special treat because on the first Friday of every month, we have a tapping session. Now, this may be the first tapping session that we have on YouTube instead of on Facebook because we made the switch. Um, I think the second Friday in October was when we made the switch from going from Facebook to YouTube. So as you're joining in today, please be sure to say, hey, really want to welcome everybody who's coming in. I know some of you catch it later, and that's cool too. But this is a time of year when gratitude is just in the air for, especially for us in the United States, where we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. In fact, earlier today when I had some errands to run, and one of them was grocery shopping. And y'all know how busy it gets during Thanksgiving week, going to the grocery store. You run out of items, the ones you want, they're gone. And so I decided I was going to go ahead and start shopping for my Thanksgiving celebration with my family today when I went shopping. So I got my regular groceries and I got my Thanksgiving groceries. So gratitude is there. It's in the air. We really think of it at this time of year because of it's November and we celebrate Thanksgiving. But gratitude is really more than just something we pull out of the closet during the month of November. This is something, a way that we should be living. It's something that we should be doing every day, because when we're in a place of gratitude, it's a stance. It's some we call it a heart stance or a heart posture. It's something that positions you in such a way that opens up things for us. So when we hold gratitude in our heart, we stay open to possibilities. We when we have gratitude and we think that things are going, or we're thankful for the things that are going well, even during the times that things there may be at the same time not so well or really even terrible. It's okay. So there are a lot of times when God is orchestrating things behind the scenes, and we just may not even see or be aware of all the things that are happening, and we're seeing delays. We feel like things are closed. Feel like things are not working. So what if the door wasn't really locked? Hello, Beth from Oklahoma. It does shift everything. Gratitude does shift everything. So, what if the door isn't really locked, but we've just stopped jiggling the handle? I know y'all have seen the memes of the guys digging the tunnel and they're almost to whatever the treasure is on the other side of, where they're digging, and they're like, 1 foot away, 2 inches away, whatever it is. They're not far from being able to get to that treasure, and yet they stop right before they hit. And it's so tempting to do. I've been there. I've been in that place where I'm just like, I've worked so hard. I've done so much. I've done this, I've done that, and and you just feel like, well, maybe I should just give up. It's just not working. But if it's something that we're called to, then it's not a time to give up. It's a time to give praise and give thanks, and to look at the things that, are around us as if even what we would consider the mundane are miracles. So sometimes we overlook opportunities. So sometimes we overlook opportunities to be grateful, because not because we're ungrateful. I don't want it to sound like we're ungrateful, but we get so focused on what's missing, what's not working, what's not happening, what's not, instead of looking at, oh, look, it's a good day. The sun came up. And, there are, I remember Graham Cook is one of the, I don't know that he's really a pastor, but he's a speaker, and I love what he says when he says, "Good day, bad day. It doesn't matter. When you're in Jesus, they're all good days." Okay, so you can have a really, really bad day, a really, really bad week or month, and it still can be a good day because of where we are. If we're in Jesus, if we have hearts of thanksgiving. So I just wanted to share before I really dive in. I just want to say, there's a lot going on here at Sweet Urban Living with, I've got two things coming out every week. I've got a podcast where I've been doing the healer's journey, and I've just been had an excellent group of people who have come on my podcast and shared their story of how they got started. I am getting ready to launch something a little bit different so that we can talk about things like crystals and maybe even chakras, and what are we supposed to think about these things, and what are we supposed to do about these, especially if we're believers and followers of Jesus. How does that play into our role as wellness practitioners, or even just our own health or our family's health? And so that's not really geared to the wellness practitioner. That's what Fridays are for. Fridays are geared toward the wellness practitioner. The other days are geared more towards people who need wellness practitioners. So I'm really excited about what's going on with that, and don't want y'all to forget that we've got the Brilliant Health Weekend Away coming in May 2026. And for our gratitude month, those who are thinking about coming, you just need to go to my website and go to events, and I'll have, my website link I'll put in the comments in the notes section. I think it's there already. But you can save $200 if you sign up before November 27th, or by November 27th, which is Thanksgiving Day. So yay. So I'm really thankful that y'all are here today and watching, and I just want to dive in and just talk about hello, Rebecca. Good to see you. I missed you last couple of weeks, but I know it gets busy. So glad to see you here. So sometimes I want to go back to that. Sometimes we overlook gratitude, not because we're not grateful, but sometimes we don't slow down long enough and stop and go, what are the things that I need to be grateful for, that I can be grateful for? And, that's one of the things that we start off with when we do our coaching is, what are your wins? I'm glad it's improving, Rebecca. What are your wins? Because it's so easy to dive in. It's so easy to dive into whatever project or event, or to react to what's going on. I think everybody can really say, everybody that I talk to can really say that life seems to be a whole lot more stressful now than it has been in maybe since pre-2020. And it was already, there were stressful times then, but most people I talk to, it's like, yeah, it just seems to have gotten really more. You do have some catching up to do. That's okay. That's why we moved to YouTube, is because now when you're on a long drive somewhere or something like that, and you just want to listen to something as you're driving, you can just play it. If you're on Facebook, it's like Facebook always hides it and you can't find it. So I'm like, this has been one of those things where moving from Facebook to YouTube has been a bit painful to do, because I would have, several people, easily 8, 10, sometimes 15 people with me on Facebook Live, and YouTube, it's been a little bit slower. And that's one of those areas where I've been going, oh goodness, did I make a mistake? What was I thinking? Why did I do that? But in the long run, I think it's going to be better, because we're going to be able to go back. You can just go back, and anything you want to just pop in, listen to, or you can't make it to the live, it'll be easy to find, whereas on Facebook it wasn't. And then they deleted them after so long, and I would try to download them, but anyway, that's just another story. So some of the things that cause us hiccups in expressing gratitude is when we compare. So I'm going to just make a little list right here. When we compare our journey to someone else's. Now, this is a fine line because I think it was great I think it was Rose Hollow who asked in our Facebook group how other people's businesses were doing this month in the month of October, whether or not they had seen a downturn. And several people responded back, yeah, it's been really low. And other people was like, no, my business picked up. And so on one hand, I've done the same thing. I've reached out to other business owners. When I had my herb shop, I would reach out to other herb shop owners. I would reach out and I would just go, hey, what's going on? Is it everywhere that business is kind of taking a slide, or is it just me? Because if it's just me, then I need to figure out what to do. If it's a trend, then it's like, okay, I can ride that. But then we get to that point where we start like comparing, if that makes sense. We start comparing, well, I'm not doing this, I'm not good enough. And it becomes a detriment. And instead of even celebrating someone else's wins, we might start getting a little bit like jealous of what's going on. So the shift to YouTube will catch on. Yes. And it is easier to share and to rewatch, Beth. Thank you for sharing that, because it has been a little bit of a, ooh, what am I doing? And yeah, Rebecca, I agree with you. The interaction in the chat on Facebook was much more lively. And it was like, even though I had all those problems, because remember, I would have to, have my iPad up, because I couldn't see the chats. I couldn't see the comments, even though there's a little box for comments when I'm doing the live event. So I think in some ways, as we get used to this, it'll start to flow. So that's one of those things is we need to realize that someone else who's got good things going on for them, and we feel like not so good things for us, what's going on good for them doesn't take away. There's plenty to go around. And I know that that's one of those things where sometimes we feel like there's not plenty. But if we're not grateful, if we can't celebrate with others, then we start to get like this scarcity mentality of I don't have enough, and then the scarcity becomes a reality. That mentality of, and y'all know this because when you work with your clients, you tell them, we attract what we think. If we're thinking pain, if we're thinking we're not going to feel better, if we're thinking sad, it draws that to us. And that's the same thing when we compare our journey to others. So it's one thing to say, hey, how are things going for you? But let me just encourage you, if you're one of the ones who were saying, hey, my business has been going down a little bit, I haven't been booking as many clients this month, and someone else said, oh, but mine increased, then be thankful with them, celebrate with them. That's one of those times where we want to just go, hey, that is great. Because when we have the posture of, hey, that's great for you, it actually builds expectation in us that great things can happen to us too. And that's the frequency that we're putting out. So Beth says the decrease in business definitely causes all the questions and insecurities. It does. It does. And so on one hand, it was great because, that one question opened up conversation for others to not feel alone. I'm not the only one who's going through this. It makes me feel so much better when I can go, oh, it's not just me. And so that is encouraging. And that's part of why we have the education, the Holistic Wellness Practitioners Coaching and Education group, is because I want us to be there. Sometimes we get a little quiet and we don't have as much conversation. Then all of a sudden somebody will post a really great question and then conversation will come up again. So let's keep doing that. So that's one of those things where let's make sure that we're not comparing our journey exactly with someone else's. And when we do see them winning, let's celebrate and rejoice with them. And I'm going to say, honestly, y'all do that. In my group, I have seen y'all reach out with encouragement and just cheer others on. And so thank y'all for doing that. I am grateful that y'all do that because I want our group to be one of support and community that supports one another. So here's another way that we can miss showing gratitude, expressing gratitude, is when we overlook small wins. There was a coaching of time, and y'all have probably felt this, but I went to one of my coaching groups, and my win was I showed up today because everything else in my life just seemed to be like, falling apart. And I'm like, hey, I am here. And it wasn't just a platitude. It wasn't I don't have anything else to say. It was, I made it. I did something positive. So I showed up today. So, one of the things that my husband has even pointed out to me before is he has said, you know, you are always looking for the big things. Have you ever just stopped? I'm like, this is why husbands are great. This is why having other people are great. He's like, do you stop and celebrate the small wins? You say you do, and you share, because I'll tell them about them, but then I'll turn around and I'll go, but blah, 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 blah. And then I'll totally negate that small win. Let's not do that. I mean, I'm just telling on myself. Yeah. I, so, yeah, we do need each other, Rebecca. And I'm glad I'm not the only one who's been there. So a client referral, someone spoke a kind word, paid you a compliment, said something great about what you did for them. Oh, you really helped me. That's a win. I'm a business owner. I want to get to the end of the month and look at my bills and go, hey, look at this. I not only had enough clients to pay this month's bills, but I'm paying next month's bills and maybe even the next month's bills. And I haven't even gotten into the next month yet. That's what we want, right? But it's so easy to negate that, someone, for me, you may not have this problem. You may be much better about this than I am, but it's easy for me to go, oh, I had blah, 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 great thing happen. And then I start just naming all the things that didn't work out the way that I wanted them to do, instead of staying in that place of gratitude for the small wins, because even small movement, even small pauses to be thankful makes a big difference for us when we are giving thanks, right? So even when a new idea comes, there are times when, y'all, this is really interesting. I'm going to tell you something that was interesting. I dream, I dream, and I've had God speak to me in dreams before. And the other night, I dreamed that, this is right hand. My right wrist was tender and just, it was so sore. And I had been noticing that for several days. And in my dream, I had someone come up to me, a natural wellness practitioner come up to me, and she touched my arm, and she was feeling my arm, not my pulse, not like puncture doctors or Chinese medicine or whatever, where they feel the different pulses, but she was feeling my arm. And she said, we can balance your hormones. I can tell which hormones are out of balance, and we can balance those hormones. And I thought, that is an interesting thing. Okay. So the next day when I got up, I remembered that dream, and I went and I just Googled, and I actually went to ChatGPT, because ChatGPT can do research faster than I can. And I just typed in, can your arm show hormone imbalances? The answer to that is yes. I was like, oh my goodness. And the different parts where it is on your arm, and where mine was is thyroid. where that point was thyroid, and I knew that I needed to support my thyroid. And it was so interesting. Now y'all may call me crazy, but I was like, well, thank you for showing me, Lord, that we can still, that whatever that is that's making that so tender, by working on my hormones. Yeah, it was interesting, Rebecca. By working on my hormones, we can work on that area, and it's connected to the thyroid. So that was really interesting. I know that was kind of a little strange, but there we go. Here's another thing is we miss opportunities to be grateful sometimes when we expect progress to be big, when we expect really big. And most of the time, we don't. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Beth. I'm glad you dream too. Yeah, so most of the time, this is me. I am just telling on myself up one side and down the other today. I thought you might, Rebecca. I thought you might dream too. Um, okay, so what was I saying? As I'm planting seeds, I want to see results tomorrow, and I want them to be big. I want them to be like, okay, everything just happened. If I see, because it's easy for me, and that's just part of who I am and how I'm designed, to look at something and go, if you do this, 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 and this, then the results will be this. But I don't always like the growth period in between. I don't like the time lapse that it takes to get from where I started, where I planted, getting to that big place where things are like, yay, it's really exploding and everything. So remember, we need to remember that a lot of times it's a journey, and it's one step at a time. And when we plant the seed, and I've said this before, and I know this as a gardener, y'all do too, that if you plant the seed, you don't go out the very next day or the very next week and start harvesting the fruit from your labors. It has to grow, and it's exciting. I'm like, I go out and I've planted whatever seeds, and I look and they're sprouting, and this is so exciting. But I know it's going to take time. But it's so easy to get impatient in our businesses when we're going, I'm doing all the things. I'm reaching out to the people. I'm going to the booths. People aren't reaching out to me. What's going on? They're not calling me back. They're not booking appointments. Sometimes it is slow. And sometimes when you're building, it takes time to get those foundations strong and for things to grow. And we miss the beauty of the process moments. Does that make sense? We miss the beauty of the process behind the scenes, and we don't necessarily enter into gratitude for what we're learning along the way. And that's one of those things where y'all have been with me a little while, right? And so some of you for more than a little while. But after, leaving Trinity and going, it was like I had to figure out, okay, what am I going to do now? And this opportunity came open, but then it didn't work out. And then another opportunity came up, and that didn't quite work out either. And it was like I kept going, back and forth, and I would do one thing, and then I would go, wait a minute, that's not exactly right. Let me back up and go do something else. So it was a process. And in the process, I learned how to use Canva, and I learned how to build websites, and I learned how to do podcasts, and I learned how to do all kinds of different things that I'm doing. And so it makes it where now when I'm going, someone in coaching, we're in our group, and I'll say, oh, well, you just need to do blah, 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 blah. And it's like, why? Because in the process of figuring things out, I was learning, and I need to be grateful for that. So that's one of my grateful, here I am grateful, because a lot of times clarity comes while we're waiting. I could look back at it and go, wow, look at all the mistakes I made. But better than that, because I actually believe that when we make mistakes, we learn better. We learn better than if we never ever made any mistakes. So Rebecca says, I've been in that process too. Thank God he puts in the guardrails on the path. That is absolutely true. And you also said any win is a win, and we do need to remember that. Um, so don't miss the process moments. Don't miss that. So, I'm like, I didn't want to learn how to create two different websites. I didn't want to do that. But one website, so just so you know, I use Squarespace for my main website. And then at first I did my education website somewhere else because Squarespace just couldn't hold. They can hold some things, but not everything. And I've had Squarespace for years and years and years. So there may be other better, but I've had that for so long, back to when we had our herb shop. So I like Squarespace. I'm comfortable with Squarespace, and I was great, but it doesn't hold education. So I put all my education, and I wanted the two to look like if you clicked one and you went to the other, that you didn't really know that you had left one platform for another. So I worked hard at that, but they were both so different in how you had to set things up. And then as I'm looking at, well, I'm paying for a calendar app, and I was having to start because I had MailChimp, but I hit the 1,000 email mark with MailChimp, and I had to start paying for that, which, that's fine. I don't begrudge that MailChimp is going, hey, this is a service and we need to charge you for this. I don't begrudge them for that, but I'm like, oh, I'm paying for this and I'm paying for this. And so I'm paying for my education, my calendar, my email, this and that. And they all did different things. And I came across the platform I'm using now, and it does everything. I can do social media posts, I can do email campaigns, I can host all of my content, I can do my calendars, all of that. But guess what? I had to learn all over again how to do this stuff. And so what I'm just saying, I'm belaboring the point of it was all process. It was like none of it felt productive. None of it felt like, look at me, I'm making money, I'm getting clients, I'm doing this. The platform is convertpoint.io. Not there's another one that's like ClickPoint or something like that, but this is convertpoint.io. And I'm going to tell you, even after learning Squarespace and then learning Thinkific, coming in and learning ConvertPoint, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pull my hair out. But once I started learning, because it's not hard, it does so much. And so just like I would have to go into one tab to do something if I wanted to send an email, I have to go to this tab. And if I want to do something else, I have to go to that tab. I was going back and forth in apps, but I had to learn how to do it in ConvertPoint. Just saying. So I'm not trying to bash anything, but I'm just going, it does so much. I had to relearn, and I was going through the process. But now it's like, oh, I've learned how to do automations, and I've learned how to do this, and I've learned how to do that. Well, that's really helpful as a business coach when I'm going, let me help you with that. Now I can't help with every little thing, but there are a lot of times I've got insights. So I'm grateful now for the process. And here's another thing. The next point is when we focus on outcomes and not on obedience. Sometimes what God wants for us and what he values most for us is our yes. Our yes. He's less after our doing and more of our being, and being with him and saying yes to the way he wants us to do things. And so a lot of times it's easy to focus on, hey, I've been planting the seeds. I've been doing this. I've been making the phone calls. I've been putting out my business cards. I've been going to different meetings and networking. I've been doing all of this stuff. But are we just doing things? Are we doing the things he wants us to do? And that's a place of posture more than it is production. So let's shift the atmosphere. Because when we start entering into gratitude, we start to shift the atmosphere. Gratitude is like It magnifies the good things. And it's the focus. Y'all know what I'm saying. It's like when we focus on the negative or the things that aren't working out or, not going the way we wanted to, it's like that thing just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The things that aren't working get bigger. But if we'll shift and we'll start focusing on the good things, the sun came up today, the fog lifted. I mean, sometimes that may be all we can, because I've been in that place where dealing with parents' health, dealing with this, and it's like everything that can come at you in one day is coming at you, and you're going, I just don't know how much more I can take. And it's like you say that, and it's like, oh, here's one more thing. I didn't order that. I promise. I sent that one back. But gratitude, when we start just pausing, taking that deep breath and going, I'm just thankful for air in my lungs. I'm just thankful that the sun came up today. I am just thankful that Jesus never leaves me or forsakes me. And that's one of the biggest ones of all. It actually draws that peace to us. You know what I'm saying? It draws that, because I've prayed Philippians 4, where we're talking about be anxious for nothing, but in everything with prayer and thanksgiving, make your requests known to God, and the peace of God that passes all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. I've prayed and gone, okay, I'm praying, but I was still anxious. I was still not being thankful and grateful. And I'm like, I've got to be thankful. I've got to be grateful. And I would build up even more anxiety around that instead of just being thankful. So when we do that, when we are like, okay, let me just be thankful and take that deep breath, it actually opens up that peace. And it opens up, when we're at peace, it actually opens up creativity in our space. It opens up new ideas, because instead of focusing on what's not working, now we're focusing on God and the good things and our family and how, whatever, like my grandson was pointing out the word rectangle the other day. That's something to be thankful for, because it's it's sweet and it's fun and it's beautiful, and it's like, yeah. So we want to draw that peace in, and we do that when we're thankful, when we let go of that anxiety, and we just really do just say, yeah, I'm just gonna focus. And me, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to pray. And if you're watching this and you're going, that's not me, that's not what I do, I understand. You can still be grateful. When we're in a relationship with Jesus, it's like, oh my goodness, it makes everything better. So it helps you feel guided. When we're grateful, we feel guided, because the peace comes, and it's like we're not frantic. We're not like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And it moves you out of a place of striving into a place of trust. Because if I can trust that God is my Heavenly Father, and He's a good Father, He's a good dad, and He's, even though there are times when I know He's let me go through difficult situations, He doesn't leave me, He doesn't forsake me, He's always there with me, and I can trust Him. When I'm grateful for what He has done, it moves me out of striving and back into trust. So gratitude is a game changer. And when I really do come in from a place of gratitude with Him, gratitude for what He's done for me, it really does make a difference in that peace level. The stress can go down. So how can we get our gratitude reignited? Maybe you're sitting here watching this going, I struggle just like you do, Beth. Or maybe you're going, oh, it's not so bad. But there are 3 things that we can do that I'm kind of a little assignment that you can do just to bring gratitude back in to your life, so that it's affecting your business. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because I can't separate, oh, this is my personal life, this is my business life. It's true, they're separate, but it's like I'm always, once you become a business owner, it's like business is always with you. Does that make, do either of y'all, does anybody else feel that way? That even though you're going, I have separate lives, business and personal, it's like it's totally different now that I'm a business owner. It's like always there. So we want to make sure that we're reigniting our gratitude, guarding our personal time, guarding, the business as well. Yeah. So thank you, Beth, for saying yes, because it does. It's like, ooh, it's always on my mind. Wake up thinking about it, go to bed thinking about it, dream about it. Rebecca said yes as well. And if you're watching this later, drop me a comment and let me know how that affects you. So, here are different ways we can get that gratitude back. I recommend writing. Even if you are not one who loves to write or journal, there is something about getting that down on paper as a memorial and in a journal about things. And so one of the things that you can do is you can start the day with the things that you're thankful for, maybe from the day before, just get one or two, three things that happened the day before that you can just go, wow, that was really good. I'm so thankful. It can be, I love hummingbirds. So anytime, it's not the season for hummingbirds now, but I remember one time being in, I think it was a Lowe's or a Home Depot, and I was in the inside, not the outside, not the outdoor garden section, but the inside garden section. And there was a flower display, and there was a hummingbird that had come in and was going around the flowers. And Rose, so glad you're here. Was it you, Rose, that asked the question? Because we've been talking about this the whole time. Was it you that asked the question about whether or not business had kind of dipped for others in October? So, while I give you time to answer that, I'm going to go back to my hummingbird story. So, it was just the hummingbird is there, and you know how they move so fast, and it would just dip in and get some nectar and pop back up. And I was like, so I just went and stood and watched that thing, and then it would go zip off flying away, and I was about to leave, and it came zipping back, and it saw me watching him. But it was one of the most delightful things. It had nothing to do with business, nothing to do with my kids, nothing to do with anything, but I was just so grateful. Rebecca says we have them all the time at our window, and salvia plants. Yeah. Okay, Rose. Well, I was just saying, I'm glad that you actually asked that question. So you may have to go back and watch the beginning of this, because it was one of those things where it helps us to check in, to be supported, to see what's going on with others, and I really appreciated you asking that question. So thank you. So that's one of those things where it doesn't always, I was just grateful that I got to experience that. I also remember one day I was sitting on my front steps, and something not good, I can't remember what was not good, but all of a sudden this hummingbird flies up like right towards me, and I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, because I love them. They make my heart happy. And I was just like, that was just one of those kind of like kisses from heaven, where it was like, oh, thank you. This was just such a sweet moment. So when I say be grateful, it doesn't have to be that my business did this or my business did that, or, I booked 100 clients in 1 month, or it doesn't have to be that. It can be any kind of thing that makes your heart sing, that makes you pause and appreciate the beauty around you, the good things and things like that. Because when we focus on that, it actually lifts our spirits, it lifts our frequency up, it starts getting us up, if that makes sense. So the next thing I would do is, after I've done like maybe 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for, I would just say, what can I do to keep that going? How can I, what can I do? And when I say this, I'm going, what kind of things can I be looking for today to be grateful for? So go ahead and start preparing for the day. I know that I'm going to go grocery shopping. Like I shared, I did my Thanksgiving grocery shopping, most of it today. What kind of things can I be looking for to be grateful for? Well, one thing I was grateful for is there were things that I make at Thanksgiving that I don't normally make. I make a spinach artichoke dip. It called for Monterey Jack cheese. I couldn't find it. And I went and I had already been in like the produce section and had asked someone. The guy had seen me kind of wandering around, and he's like, what do you need? And I asked him, and he showed me where it was. And I'm like, thank you. And then when I needed to find the cheese, I came back. He was still there. And I'm like, hey, can you help me find this? And he did. And he was very helpful. And I'm like, that was an opportunity to be grateful, because I could have just been wandering around that store. So I'm preparing. God, help me see your help in your hand before me as the day comes. So does that make sense? We're going to do one thing where we're going to write down what we are thankful for from the day before, and then we're going to go, hey, how can I start preparing to notice the little things around me today? It may have to do with your business. It may have nothing to do with your business. But when we're thankful, it really changes our outlook. So, then I want us to work on our mindset. I want us to work on, because one of the things where sometimes we'll get a phone call, or I'll have a no-show. I had a no-show last week, and it's like, I set my calendar, I set my time, I show up, except for when I have an emergency, like when I had to take my little Cha-Cha to the vet. If I have an appointment, I show up. I'm not saying I never ever make a mistake, but for the most part, if I make an appointment, I'm there. And y'all know, as business owners, that having a client, not show up, having a client say, hey, I'm going somewhere else. Hey, I didn't book as many clients this month. It's easy to look at that and have that negative tone to it that brings us down. And what we need to do is we need to reframe that. We need to take it and look at it and go, that made space for, this opened up the opportunity for this to happen. Instead of, I hung around for, I think, 15 minutes, and then I sent an email to see if she was going to show up, got no response, so I went and did something else. Now that bothers me. And I don't mean like, it can be anything. When I'm doing something and I'm going, this is what I'm working on right now. I don't love my schedule being interrupted. That's one of those things where I'm like, oh, don't mess with my schedule. Don't mess with my plans. But I'm learning to be better about that. And so when we reframe it, instead of looking at it as a negative thing, how can we look at it and go, that made space, that made room, that opened up the opportunity. Instead of doing this, I can now do that. Making that shift, okay? So, all right, as we get down to it, let's see how we're doing. Yeah, because we still got to do our tapping session. When you're grateful, you can, we use the word hustle and grind and things like that all the time. And we want to get to a place, I think, where, yeah, we work hard, but we're not grinding. We don't want to toil. Rose says, I always take my slow times to ramp up my marketing or work on projects and try not to freak out. Yes, it's easy to freak out because we're like, oh goodness, what happened? We're dependent on, we don't get this regular 9 to 5 paycheck that if you go get a job somewhere, you get I work so many hours, I get a paycheck. It's, pretty guaranteed unless you do commissions for sales or something like that. When you work for yourself, there's no guarantee from one week to the other what's going to happen. We know that. But when we have positioned ourselves to be grateful, like you did, and Rose, and you said, and then I reposition and I reframe and I look at it and go, this is what I'm going to do now. And just like, like I did, okay, I had someone missed their appointment, so I went and did something else that was productive, and just said, okay, that gave me this time to work on this. And it can help us to stop that grinding, feeling like, oh, I've got to keep toiling, I've got to keep working, and just let the pace work for you. Let the ebb and flow work for you. That we see it in nature, the tide, the high tide, the low tide, morning and evening. The dawn and the dusk are quiet times. Letting that flow happen in our business can be really hard, but when we realize it's a flow, it really can help us take that deep breath and just go, it's okay. And then our hearts stay receptive to those new ideas, to those new thoughts, to the new conversations, to the new people, to the, hey, instead of doing this, now I get to do that. And how sometimes it's that change. It's like, oh my goodness, that's really wasn't the best thing anyway. This is the best thing for me. And you become a magnet for peace and for clarity. And that's what we want. We want to be peaceful. We want to be grateful. And that opens up the ability to just think. And guess what? When people get around you and they sense the peace, when they sense the calm, they're more likely to want to connect with you. I can still remember, and this was when my kids were young, but I met someone and I didn't remember that it was the second time I met her. I thought it was the first time we met, and she was like, and it was like someone that it wasn't business. It was like someone who knew my husband from a job he had years ago. But she's like, oh yeah, I met you before. You were really frazzled, and I'm like, I don't want to be known as being frazzled. I don't want my clients to think, well, she's always frazzled. And people are always like, you're so busy. And I am busy, but I don't want you to go, well, she's so frazzled. I want you to go, yeah, she's busy, but there's a peace around her. That's what I want. So I hope that's coming across. But it doesn't always, because sometimes we get into that grind. I've got to make it happen. I've got to make things happen, instead of a place of gratitude for what is happening, because you are putting in the work. You are working hard, and stepping back and being thankful can make a big difference. Okay. So this is the kind of the homework. Not only do we want to do the practical steps of being thankful and looking for how we can be thankful for the day, but for business, this is what I want you to do. I want you to reflect. I want you to think back, and I want you to go, where in my business do I feel like doors are closed right now? So think of that. Where do you feel like you're hitting a wall? You're not able to get the door open. You're just not moving forward. Then ask yourself, what is still good in this area? Rebecca says, I've started focusing on nature's rhythms, slowing down in the fall and winter, and I've noticed a shift in every area of my life. Yep. That's really good, Rebecca. That's really good, because that was one of the things where it does. We don't have as much daylight during the day. We have more nighttime, and there is a different rhythm this season. And I would, when I answered Rose in the Facebook group, that is one of the things that I legitimately noticed in all the years of being a business owner is the weather changed. And it doesn't matter whether the weather changed for good. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. It's so warm. Where are all the clients and customers? They're going to the garden shop. They're going to work on the yard. They've got home improvement projects they're going to work on, and so they're not going to come see me. Okay, well, then it gets really rainy and cold, and what happened? They don't show up. They quit booking appointments. Why? It's too cold. And you would think, well, okay, well, now we do virtual calls. It's still, there's something about that rhythm of when there's a change in weather, there's a change in season, people react and respond anyway to it, whether they're doing it consciously or not. And a lot of times they let the natural health, their appointments, their things like that, they'll even reschedule or whatever, or just not show up because, oh, I wanted to go take care of this instead. I mean, I've had people do that to me. Just, oh, well, it was such a cold and rainy day. I just didn't feel like, and I forgot. I just didn't feel, and I forgot. Oh, it was such a beautiful day, and the weather was so beautiful. I went and did, gardening or whatever, and I forgot. They're not necessarily doing it on purpose. They're moving with the rhythm of the season. And so that is hard, but if we can do that too, it'll make it easier. It will make it easier when the seasons change and the times change and the weather's changing and all that kind of stuff. So reflect in your business what's closed right now. Just what is it that you seem to be knocking up against that's not opening for you? But ask yourself, what is still good in this area? Is there still something good that's coming out of this? And if so, how can I be grateful for that today? Because gratitude can turn what's not working for you into, maybe it doesn't start working, but it's like, oh, but there's promise ahead. Back to the garden. Okay, I went and planted the seed, and oh, there are the little sprouts. So it's not bearing fruit yet. It's still got to grow, but one day I'm going to be able to go out and pick all this amazing, yummy food from my garden. So gratitude turns what's not working into what's possible. So we talked about, a client cancels. That gives you time to work on your offer or go work on your website. It's a slow month. It gives you time to systemize your practice. And getting a system going is really important. And if you're feeling unseen, it's a time for you to engage. Okay? If you're feeling unseen, then how can you get out there and get seen? So let's do this is a tapping time, okay? And we're almost up in our hour, so I don't want to belabor the point. This is one of those things when you feel stuck and you want the next door to open, how to enter into a place of patience and gratitude while you're waiting for that door to open. So for those of you who are in my Facebook group, I haven't posted it yet, but I'll share the PDF if you want to follow along later, or if you want to. Some people print these out and then they use them later. I recommend doing that, especially if it's one that kind of speaks to you of, I might need this a little bit more often. So if you're ready, if you're not driving or something like that, you can tap with me, and we're going to start by doing the karate chop points on the side of the hand and do our setup statements, and then we'll start at the eyebrow and move around the points. So I'll try to remember to go slow, but here we go. So even though things feel quiet right now, clients aren't booking, progress feels slow, doors look closed, I choose to rest in peace, trusting that the right opportunities are already being prepared for me. Even though I felt discouraged, wondering if I'm missing something, or feeling like I'm falling behind, I choose to align with purpose. I thank God for what's working and for what's still unseen, knowing He orders my steps. And even though I don't yet see what's next, I choose to stand in expectancy, believing that the next door will open in perfect timing, and I'll recognize it when it does. All right, take a deep breath. And we're going to start on the eyebrow point. I've been trying so hard to make things move. Side of the eye, it feels like my efforts aren't producing results. Under the eye, that can be disheartening, especially when I've poured so much into this work. Under the nose, part of me worries that maybe I've done something wrong. The chin, I feel the weight of waiting. And I've grown tired of trying to figure it all out. Collarbone, but I acknowledge those feelings and I give myself grace for how I've handled them. Under the arm, I'm releasing the pressure to make things happen by force. Top of the head, I let go of striving and invite peace to take its place. All right, let me flip my page. Sorry about that. That wasn't smooth. Round 2. Back to the eyebrow. I choose to trust that there is a plan unfolding, even if I can't see every detail. Side of the eye. God has been faithful before. He is faithful now. Under the eye. What looks like stillness may actually be strategy. Under the nose. I'm learning to wait with peace rather than with worry. Chin. My purpose hasn't changed just because my pace has slowed. Collarbone. I can breathe, pray, and rest, knowing that I'm being positioned, not punished. I realign my thoughts under the arm. I realign my thoughts with truth instead of fear. Top of the head. I am centered in peace, grounded in purpose, and trusting divine timing. Back to the eyebrow. I am open to opportunities that are forming right now. Side of the eye. I thank God for unseen provision, favor, and guidance. Under the eye. I'm ready to notice the small beginnings that lead to big results. Under the nose. Gratitude shifts my heart and sharpens my vision. The chin. I am a magnet for peace, clarity, and creative ideas. Collarbone. I welcome partnerships and divine connections that align with my purpose. Under the arm. Every open door will meet me at the right time, and I'll be ready to walk through it. Top of the head. I receive peace, purpose, and expectancy as my new posture. All right, take a deep breath. And just agree with this if you do. I am at peace with where I am. I am aligned with my purpose. I am expectant for what's next. The right doors are opening. I am ready and I am thankful. Okay, so thank y'all for joining me today. Gratitude does open doors. And once you start walking through them, there are strategies that you can use to get you where you're going. If I'm going to say this every time, I would love to have y'all in the Roots to Results coaching. It's a very valuable coaching time. We've got recorded lessons plus group coaching every week for those who are going, I'm ready to take my business. I'm ready to take the next step to get this going. Just send me a private message, leave roots in the comment section, and I can reach out to you. Go to my website, just click the free business evaluation, whatever it is you need to do to get in touch with me to say, hey, is this something that'll work for me? Because at Roots to Results Coaching, we are not cookie cutter. I'm not a cookie cutter coach. It's not the same thing for everybody. The recorded lessons that come with the program, they are there, they work, they're transportable. You can take them and use them for any kind of business pretty much. But what you get in the group coaching is for you, who you are, your business. And it's amazing the things that are happening, because it's not just, did you do this, did you do that? It's, what do you need to do? Where is God taking you? What's going on? And how can I help you? So thank y'all for joining me, and I hope to see you next week.